Hello, hello, hello. I am Teresa Clark, and welcome to our first episode of the Becoming Her Faith, Life, and Purpose podcast. I'm super, super excited to be here with you all today. This is our very first episode. And for those who do not know, I am your host, Teresa Clark. I am a licensed therapist. I'm a wife. I've been married for 16 years to my high school sweetheart. I'm a mom. I have two boys, 14 and 9, and I'm an entrepreneur. And so I am not new to podcasting. This is actually my second podcast. I had a podcast with my best friend that we launched over the pandemic. And to be honest, life just started lifing and we paused our podcast. But I always had it on my heart to continue podcasting. And I had I would say, a life altering journey in the past 2 years. And God laid it on my heart to share my story to help other women who are going through different life challenges or just becoming or just growing and evolving. And so here we are for our very first episode. So, what is the Becoming Her Life, Faith, and Purpose podcast? Well, this podcast is really for women who are on a journey to discovering who they are, figuring out their purpose, going through life, trying to walk in what I would say the life that God called them to live. And I took that journey starting in 2024, and I wanted to also create a podcast and a platform for other women who might be going through similar or same just life stuff that happens to us as women. And so this podcast is for you. And so this very first episode, I wanted you all to kind of get a deep dive into how I got here, a little bit about me and my story. Now, you will hear pieces of my life throughout the episodes. I will also bring on guests who are also some amazing women who are also becoming and evolving into the woman of God they're called to be. I am a God girl. I love the Lord. And so faith is a part of this podcast because without it, I would not be here. And so as I navigate each episode, you'll hear about my walk. And as a Christian, you'll hear about my life as a mom, as a wife, as an entrepreneur, as a friend, the many different hats that I wear, my journey with grief, because I've lost quite a few people in the past 6 years in my life and how I got here. And so, if this is something that you're interested in, buckle up because we are going to take a journey to becoming her together. And so, the first part of my podcast, I really wanted to share my journey, a little piece of my journey. I'm 38 years old. And so, I would say my 30s was really the year of refining and figuring out who I was. Because in my 20s, I thought I knew, but looking back, girl, I didn't know. So I would say in 2024 was really, really the moment or my aha moment or, my light bulb moment, whatever you want to call it, of when I realized, oh, girl, you are not living a life that you wanted. You are not content. You are not happy. You are not experiencing real joy. I think it was moments of joy, but I realized that I was showing up wearing a mask in a lot of areas of my life, and I didn't know how I got there. And so let's go back. It was January 2024. No, seriously, it was January 2024, the beginning of the new year. And I had an amazing year in my business in 2023. And so I thought, right? So let's put a pin in that. So I thought I was having an amazing year in my business in 2023. And this was kind of the catalyst. In January 2024, so many things started going wrong in my business. And I didn't realize why. I thought, how did I get here? Things were slowly bleeding in my business and I wasn't paying attention to them. At this point, I was really hands off on my business. I had delegated tasks to other people. And lo and behold, I wasn't overseeing the people who I delegated the task to realize that things were not right. And so February hit and there was a big issue in the medical world when it came to an insurance issue and it affected my business heavily. And from there, things just started snowballing. I would say February into March, I was in tears, realizing that, oh my gosh. For those who do not know, I am, sorry, a full time entrepreneur. I own a mental health group practice, Inspire for Purpose Counseling Services in South Florida. And so, in my group practice at the time, I had um, the highest amount of staff I had at the time, almost 20 therapists working for me. And I had front office staff, I had billing staff. I was the biggest at the time. But what I didn't realize is that there were a lot of leaks in my business. And so a lot of things were happening financially for me, which then also impacted my personal finances. And in that time, I was experiencing friendship breakups. I was going through a lot of issues with friends. My health was not good. I had went to the doctor and the doctor said, listen, you have high blood pressure, you have high cholesterol, you are pre-diabetic. I was the biggest I'd ever weighed in my life, even bigger than when I was pregnant. And so the doctor said, listen, I'm going to give you 3 months. If you don't lose at least 20 pounds in 3 months to get these numbers down, you are going on medication. And that was my aha moment, right? One of them for my physical health. And what started happening is all the stress from my business and my personal life was causing me to have severe anxiety. I was having panic attacks. And for those who do not know what they are, I hope you never experience them. But for me, they felt like I was having a heart attack. And I was having them like twice a month. And I'm a therapist, y'all. So I should have known this, but I was in denial. I was going along, pushing through, trying to push through, put on this brave face, and my anxiety was through the roof. It wasn't until I was going to the mall where I live, and I said, "You know what? I'm frustrated. I'm overwhelmed. I'm just going to have a shopping day. I'm just going to go to the mall and shop. Like shopping was going to resolve those issues." But in my mind, I thought, "Let's go shopping, girl." So I'm going shopping, and in the mall, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I can't breathe." It felt like I had ran up 3 flights of stairs, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh." And so in my mind, I'm like, "Why can't I breathe? What's happening? Oh my gosh, am I having a heart attack?" So I sit down and I'm like hyperventilating, and it hits me, "Oh girl, you're having a panic attack." In the middle of the mall. Now, I was shopping, doing something that I love to do, but in the midst of that, I was having a full-blown panic attack in the mall, and someone was kind enough to ask me, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Yeah, yeah, I'm okay." I'm doing deep breathing, I'm trying to do all the things that I tell my clients to do, and eventually the panic attack stops. And I just start bawling in the mall because I'm wondering, one, where did this come from? How did I get here? And I'm just reflecting on all of the stressors that I'm having in my life at this time. And I am realizing that I am overwhelmed. I am overwhelmed. I am stretched thin, and I have to make a change. And it was at that moment I decided you can no longer live this way. And high levels of stress, burnout, overwhelm, it is taxing on my mind and it was taxing on my body. And I had to have a talk with Jesus and really pray to say, I'm tired. What do I need to do to get out of this space? And so let me pause there and say that um, I had community. I had friends, I had family. I just wasn't sharing the amount of stress that I was feeling. I wasn't being honest with the people around me. I was putting on a brave face, like people say. I was wearing this mask, like I had it all together. I was figuring life out. And inside, I was drowning. Um, is the best way that I can explain that. And so in March of 2024, after going through these physical and mental, I would say, strains and overwhelm, I said, I can't do this. And it was clear as day that God said, girl, get up. Like clear as day. You cannot soak in this. You cannot stay here. You have to get up. If you stay here, you are going to die." And I thought, hearing that clear as day, oh my gosh, like, I gotta get up. It's not in my personality to sit and soak. It's not. I was raised by a single parent, and I saw her work multiple jobs to make it happen, raise 4 kids. I only saw strong women growing up. And so in my mind, I always had that persona of, I'm a strong black woman. I can handle anything. I'll carry it on my back. I don't need help. I'm not going to cry and soak. Get up, girl, and do it. But that was causing me to drown, not asking for help, not speaking up, not saying anything. My body was physically reacting to the high amounts of stress that I was feeling, um, and I was drowning. And at that moment, God told me to do a 2-week fast. I'll never forget a 2-week fast. And at that point, I hadn't fasted in, I don't know, years. And so I did a 2-week fast, and I did that 2-week fast in March. Um, and it was like, I would say, a weight lifted. I didn't feel completely like myself, but I felt a lot better. And I really leaned into my relationship with God, and I started going back to church. When my family started going back to church in person, because during the pandemic we were virtual, and so we stayed virtual all that time. And then I said, you know what, we need to go back physically into the church. So we started going back to church. Um, I started sharing a little bit more with my community and telling them, I need help. Um, and people started purging out of my life. Either they walked out of my life or I had to let them go. I had a lot of toxic people around me, in my business and in my personal life. And for me, I call myself a recovering people pleaser, because I always think of how I'm going to make other people feel. And at that point, I had gotten here because I had put other people before myself. That's how I got here. And so I had to make hard decisions with staff. I had to realize that a lot of the staff that were there were, negatively impacting my business. And so it was time to, like people say, clean house. It was very hard for me. I'm not going to be honest, because some of the people, their livelihood was connected to working for my business. And so I never wanted to feel like, I'm taking food out of people's families' mouth. But the reality is that my business was a sinking ship. And because a lot of things were happening that people were doing, I had contracted with a company who was not doing what they were supposed to. It was just a lot. And it was a domino effect. And so I had to make hard decisions, and letting people go or allowing people to walk away. At one point, I was holding on to this vision. I was holding on to this dream. I'm a boss. I'm this, I'm that, this reality of what I thought I wanted my life to look like. And during that time of really growing and letting go of ideas and letting go of the version of myself I thought my life was going to look like. And I say that because I know a lot of us as women, we have this dream, right? Of, by this age, I'm going to do this. By this age, I'll be married. I'll have kids. I'll start my career. I'll have a business. I'll write a book. All the things. I'll travel to 10 countries. And we have these dreams and goals that we hold ourselves accountable to. And the reality is that, it's that saying that we make plans and God laughs. I think that was where I was in my life, because this version of my life that I had worked so hard to get to, it was crumbling. And I was fighting tooth and nail to hold on to this version of what I thought my life looked like. And it was to my detriment. It was like, girl, let go. Like, you are drowning trying to hold on to these things. Girl, let it go. But I was fighting with God. I was like, no, I'm gonna make it work. I'm gonna do these things. And the reality is, it's like, girl, you're only hurting yourself. In the end, you are hurting you. You let it go. And so I know a lot of us struggle with letting go and we struggle with change. And at some point, I was like, you know what? I am going to surrender to you, God. I am going to let go. And the saying, let go and let God, is really what I did because doing it my own way got me to where I was. It's like, girl, look around. You are on a sinking ship and you are trying to hold on to things where God is telling you to let it go. Try it his way because your way is just not working anymore. And it was like a release to slowly let go of things and slowly let go of people that didn't serve me anymore. And was it hard? It was. I was scared. I was sad. I was grieving the loss of the things that I had to let go. Um, I had friendships that I had to let go that they were so toxic. And because I am a giver, I am an empathetic person for those who are around me. Like at some point, if you needed the shirt off my back, I would give you the shirt off my back just because I was that much of a giver as a friend. I was always there when my friends needed me. I was always there for the people around me. And even that, to a certain extent, was to my own detriment. I was putting others before myself all around. And I realized that I could no longer do that. I had to prioritize me. I had to get to a place where I was prioritizing my own mental health, my own physical health, my own needs. And I had to realize that no one was going to save me. Looking around, hoping that someone would pull me up and do the work. And it's like, no, girl, you have to do your own work. You have to be your own superhero, right? Outside of God, you have to save you. You have to realize that no one's going to throw you a raft if you're not even willing to grab it. And so at that point, I had to strip myself of things, people, behaviors that I had. And I realized in doing all that, I was an emotional eater and I kickstarted my mental health journey. I got into therapy. I had been in therapy on and off since 2021, since my mom passed away. That was the catalyst for me to get into therapy. And I had worked through grief. And so January 2024, I was like, I'm good. So I thought. So I got back into therapy and my shout out to my therapist, amazing, amazing Black woman doing amazing work. Her work was her dissertation was around the strong Black woman syndrome. And so she was the perfect fit to get me through that season of my life. Um, I had reconnected with my faith and I started my physical health journey. It was a total I would say, package of what I did. I worked on my mental health. I worked on my physical health. I worked on my spiritual health. I worked on my community, the people that I had around me. I really worked on every aspect of my life. And was it hard? It was one of the hardest things I ever had to do in my adult life. But being on the other side of it, to date, I haven't had a panic attack since February 2025. I've lost to date 95 pounds. Yes, 95 pounds. And I equate all of that. I have to give God all of his credit because without him, I would not be here. Whole, healed, and really just feeling joy. Is life perfect? No. Is every day a great day? It's not. But I feel joy. I feel a joy that I haven't felt in a long time. And so going back to 2024, I started this journey. And in January of 2025, I did another fast. And this time I did a longer fast. And in February of 2025 is really when I started to feel joy again, like real joy, not performative, not superficial, not, and from the outside, my life looked great. I'm married, I have children, we own a home, I own a business, but those things didn't bring me internal joy as much as it did on the outside because I wasn't happy inside. I had a lot of things that I had to work through and work on that I thought I did, and I really didn't. And so I realized that in February 2025, digging a little bit deeper than what I did and doing that deep work, really doing that deep work, I a year later, well, we're a little past a year later, I'm here. I did the work, I leaned in, I started loving myself on a different level that I've never loved myself before. I realized that I had a lot of negative habits that just weren't serving me anymore. And I had people around me that were draining, that were leeches. Um, and I really leaned into the community that I had. I had friendships that I had let go or just kind of threw them to the side because I was focusing on other friends that, to be honest, they're gone now. And so I circled back around to those friends and realizing that, you know what? I apologize for the way I kind of discarded you all and really poured my time and energy into other friendships that I shouldn't have. And realizing that at one point I had a conversation with a really dear friend of mine. And I'll never forget, we were at dinner and I was just sitting there saying, I feel so lonely. I don't have community. This had to be, I think, in 2024. And then realizing that, girl, the community was there. You just stepped away from that community. The people who you needed to lean into, you leaned away from. The women that were around you, you probably shouldn't have been around. The women that you walked away from were the women that you needed in your life, the women that had your back, the women that would pray with you, pray for you. I'll never forget another dear friend of mine in the midst of going through this. I would say wild stuff, right? I was just saying things. And she was like, "Oh, girl, no, we need to pray immediately." And we prayed. And she was like, "Girl, I kept praying for you because this is not you." And the people who were closest to me started to realize and recognize, sis, this isn't you. And who you have around you is so important. I am so grateful for the community and the women that I have in my life right now that it's not just we go to brunch and have a good time. It is when you need me, I'm really here. I'm praying with you, I'm praying for you, um, and I'm here. And those are the type of women that I have around in my life right now, and I am so grateful for that. Before I had women around me who were catty and who were backbiting and jealous and just negative. And being around that so long, the saying that we used to tell kids, "You're the company you keep," it is true, I think, to a certain extent. You start to be engulfed in that type of environment, and it's very negative, and after a while, it affects your mental health. No one wants to be around negative people all the time. It's just not good. It wasn't good for my mental health. It just wasn't. And I came to a space where I had to walk away from a friendship, and I literally just walked away. I had had too many conversations, too many kumbaya moments. I was like, "I'm done. I'm drained." And we don't always talk about friendship breakups because, we don't talk about them the way that, we talk about relationship breakups because they also you also feel grief, especially for friends you've been friends with for decades. It is a grieving process that you go through, and so I grieved the loss of some of my closest friends at the time, but on the other side of that, realizing, girl, they should have never been your friends to begin with. They didn't like you. They did not see you the way that you saw them. And so for me, it was eye-opening to release those friends, release those environments that I was in, releasing people in my business that took advantage of me and I didn't realize it. And the people around me would tell me, "Hey, this person is not for you," or "You know what? The way they're moving with you, it's not right, girl. Maybe you need to look at that. Maybe you need to take a step back." Like I had people around me telling me certain things, but I wasn't listening. In my mind, I was like, "I know what I'm doing. I got this." You know, step back. And the reality is that the people around me were, as much as I was allowing them to, sharing their thoughts and opinions with me about the people and some of the situations in my life, but I was hard-headed. I was stubborn because I thought I knew it all. I thought, I didn't need help. I got this, and that mentality got me to where I was. And so the reality is that the people around me were trying to be there and I wasn't allowing them to, or the right people around me were trying to, and I wasn't allowing them to. And the other people that were around me that were draining me, I was listening to them. And the reality is that they didn't mean me any good. And so pruning of letting go friends, letting go circumstances, situations, letting go staff, it was a purging year for me. And if anybody has ever felt like they were in a season of purge or a season of loss, it is a hard season to be in. It is a season to look around and say, God, what is going on? I'm losing things left and right, and I don't understand why. And if you've ever prayed that prayer, God, if they don't mean, if they're not good for me, or if they're not supposed to be in my life, release them. And girl, I prayed that prayer. And immediately dropping like flies left and right, they were. And so the reality is that when you ask God for something, you better be prepared for it. And two, it may not look the way you think it's going to look. And for me, it was not. It was a pruning season. At some points in that time, I felt isolated. I felt like nobody understands. And the reality is that it was my journey. I had to do a deep dive inside and out. And coming on the other side of it, while I didn't like it while I was going through it, it didn't feel good. Coming on the other side of it, I'm glad that I had to go through that because I wouldn't be the woman I am today. I wouldn't be the woman who feels joy today, who feels happiness, who feels the peace of the Lord, um, who feels whole, who has her cup filled to be able to pour it out into my family, into my husband, into my children, to be a version of myself that is healed, to show up in a healthy way. And so while I didn't like the journey, I didn't like what was going on, I'm glad I'm on the other side of it. And I wanted to be able to share this with you all to know that there's another side of your test. There's another side of the trial, the valleys, wherever you feel like you are, there's another side. When you get to the other side, time, how long, those questions I asked myself as well, like, well, oh my gosh, how long am I going to be going through this? I feel like I'm going through left and right, getting gut punched and kicked while I'm down. It's like, time is something that we can't control. But I am grateful for the journey because coming out on the other side, realizing that, wow, that version of who I was, I wasn't happy about. I wasn't authentically myself. I was putting on, so to speak. I was wearing a mask. Um, but this version of who I am now, I'm proud of. And the life that I thought I was going to hit by this age and that age and this age, it's different now. As you grow and mature, you get to change your mind. You get to reimagine your life. If you thought these things would happen by this certain age and it didn't, reimagine it, right? Because maybe it's not happening for a reason, and maybe that is for your good. Um, and we don't know God's plan, and we can't even understand it. But the reality is that there's always something on the other side. And so for me, the other side was finding myself again. And that journey, it's been 2 years. Um, and I'm still evolving, I'm still growing, but this version of who I am now knows true peace and happiness, and that you cannot buy. You cannot buy joy. You cannot buy peace. You cannot buy happiness, money, cars, fame, fortune. None of those things will bring you peace and happiness if you don't have it within. And so I had to take a journey to really get to the core of who I was and be happy with who I am, with shedding. Not only did I shed people and things, I shedded weight, dead weight, 95 pounds of weight that I released in that process. And I am so happy. I have always been a plus size girl. I've always struggled with my weight. I've always had weight loss journeys up and down, up and down, up and down. This is the longest I've ever been on a weight loss journey or a health journey. This is the most weight I've ever lost in my life and kept off because I've lost like 50 pounds in the past and girl it came back with a vengeance. But this time it has been off. and I am still on a goal to get in 100 pounds. So I'm yo-yoing between this 5 to 7 pounds. It's like yo-yo back and forth. But listen, I'm gonna get there. We're gonna hit that 100 pounds, but we're celebrating that I'm almost there, and we're celebrating this woman of who I am today and who I have become. And so I want to challenge you, ladies who are listening. Who are you? Ask yourself, who am I? Who do I want to become? When you look in the mirror, are you happy with the version of yourself that you see in the mirror? And if the answer is no, the wonderful thing is that God woke you up this morning, you can do something about it. Sitting in your unhappiness, sitting in your misery, sitting in a space where you are not even comfortable with looking at who you see in the mirror. And I'm not talking about just physically what you see, but internally what you see. If you are not happy with her, do something about it, and do something about it before you don't have a choice, before circumstances make it hard for you to, right? Get up and make a conscious decision to change your life. Now, there are certain things that are outside of our control that we cannot change. I'm not talking about those things. I'm talking about, sis, the things that you can change. You don't like your job, you don't like your health, you don't like the people around you, you don't like the man you're with, like whatever it is. You're not walking in your purpose. There are gifts and talents that God has placed inside of you that you are not utilizing or even walking in. Those things you can do something about. Fear is paralyzing you. Fear is stopping you. Fear shows up, but we know that God did not give us the spirit of fear. So you are going to have to do it scared. There are so many things that I do scared. And the people around me, my community is always saying, "You never look nervous." I'm like, I am nervous, but I'm doing it scared. This podcast that I'm doing by myself, I had a lot of fear and trepidation around it because I'm like, I'm starting this new thing. Who's going to listen? Who's going to support? I'm doing it without my best friend, blah, blah, all the things. And the reality is that fear may show up, but don't allow it to paralyze you to where you do not walk or do the things that God has called you to do, the gifts and talents that you have, or sitting in misery and unhappiness because of fear. Life is so short. We are in some sad, sad times right now. And looking around you, there are so many people that are suffering, and there are so many things that are happening in the world. And if you can change your circumstance, if you can, get up and do it, sis. It's time. Now is the time to show up in the life that you want, to be the woman that you want to be, to become her. You are that girl. And sometimes you have to tell yourself that I am that girl. Whatever that girl means to you, I am that girl. I am in a stage where I am romanticizing the life that I live. I'm not waiting for some aha moment. I'm not waiting for some I'm not waiting for some time. Do it now. Because time, we don't know how much time we have on this earth. And what I don't want to live in is in regret. Been there, done that. So now I live life in a newness, right? I see it differently. And is everything perfect? It's not. Do I have all the desires of my heart? I don't. But I'm not riddled with anxiety and panic attacks and my health. I can't even walk up a flight of stairs, and I can't play with my children, and I don't have those thoughts anymore. I don't have those feelings. I'm not that person anymore. I'm in a different space of my life, and I couldn't be happier. This version of myself is for me, but the people around me benefit. My marriage is healthier. I'm a better mom. I'm a better friend. I'm a better niece and cousin and sister. I'm better for it because of this version of myself. Now, do I still have areas that I need to work on? Absolutely. Do I still need some pruning and some growth? Yeah, we should always be growing. We should never be stagnant. I always say, like, you shouldn't stop growing. The moment you stop growing is the moment that you are 6 feet under. That's when you should stop growing. And so, yes, there's still growth, but I'm not where I used to be. And for that, I celebrate. So, girl, I encourage you to get up. Get up. Try again if you failed. I've had a few businesses that failed before this one, right? And even this one has been rocky. I've made some bad decisions. I've made some mistakes. I've did things I regret, but I cannot go back and change them. The only thing I can do is put one foot in front of the other and keep moving. So I encourage you, sis, get up, keep moving, keep trying, keep pushing. I want to leave you all with some reflection questions. It's a part of the podcast where I want you all to reflect. I want you all, and if you are a person who loves to journal, journal. Journaling has been a part of my healing process. It has been amazing. So if you are journaling or want to start journaling, get a journal and ask yourself, who am I becoming? Am I happy? Do I feel joy? This version, this woman that I'm looking at in the mirror, am I happy with? Right? And what do I need to let go of? That's also probably where you need to start, sis. What and who do I need to let go of? And so, giving you all some practical steps. Pay attention to what no longer aligns or serves you. If it doesn't align, if it doesn't serve you anymore, it might be time to let it go. Give yourself permission to evolve and change. Give yourself permission to let go of the version or the life that you thought you would live that you are not living. It's okay. Create a space for stillness. Sometimes we need to sit in the stillness to be able to hear from God, but to be able to focus on what we need to do and where we need to go. I was hustling and bustling and moving and moving and moving, and God said, "Sit down, girl. You can't even hear me. You are moving before me. You are walking in your own path." And it led me to destruction. So sometimes you need to sit in the stillness to hear from God, but you also need to sit in the stillness to look at your life, reflect on where you are, reflect in who you are so that you can move in a different direction. So I want to encourage you. If you feel behind, you're not. Now is the time to make the steps and to do the things that you want to do. Who are you becoming? Because you are becoming, right? And so in this podcast, I want to hear from you all. If you have questions that you want to ask me, send them in. If you want to hear certain topics on this podcast, share them with me. This is our first episode. I'm super, super excited. Episodes drop every Monday on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and we're going to have a YouTube channel. So you will see me on YouTube. And remember to follow us on social media, the Becoming Her podcast _ on all platforms, Instagram and Facebook, and YouTube. It will be on my personal channel, Teresa Clark, LCSW. Now, let me also say this disclaimer. While I am a therapist, this podcast does not serve as a form of therapy. Okay. If you need professional help, please seek a professional. This podcast is a supplement to your healing journey, but it is not therapy. So I need to say that disclaimer because I am a therapist. I would strongly encourage you to actually go to therapy, some form of therapy, and use this podcast as a supplement. So as we wrap up this episode, I want to encourage you all to say this with me. I am becoming her. We're going to close out this episode with taking some deep breaths in and out. Understand that you are growing. Understand that you are evolving. Understand that you are becoming her because we're becoming her together. Thank you. I'll see you next time.